Today we have Ariel Balfour from Trauma to Triumph Coaching.
I don't fit into a box. This is why I love the Anomaly factor. This is why I love speaking with Janet so much. I am in a mission to try and teach people that trying to fit in is what's actually keeping you stuck, and trying to fit in is what's keeping you miserable.
I have no words to express a lot of what happens, and I am too much for most people, including myself, and I'm learning just to understand why I am the way I am.
And I firmly believe, like, my bipolar diagnosis, it's so funny because when I went off medication, the things that the doctor said to me was, it's never been done. You will go into a psychosis. You will either have a severe depressive state or a manic state and go into a psychosis or unalive yourself, whatever the case may be. It's never been done, not successfully. And I said, there has to be a better way. And medicine is good when it is used as a short-term bridge, because if you actually look at like how our medicine works, a lot of things, like if you're taking blood pressure medication, now causes a cholesterol issue. Now you got to take cholesterol medication, which now causes skin issues.
Welcome to the Anomaly Factor. I'm Janet Hamilton, and I'll be your host today. You're not swimming in the wrong direction. You have the Anomaly Factor. Today we have Ariel Balfour from Trauma to Triumph Coaching, and I can't wait to talk to her. She's a powerhouse, and I'll let you introduce you. Welcome, Ariel. How are you?
I am good, thank you. For everybody listening in today, my name is Ariel Balfour. I am the Reclamation Warrior, emotional wellness mentor, owner and operator of Trauma to Triumph Coaching Incorporated, as well as the founder of the Feral and Free movement, and podcast launching on February 23rd after speaking in Vegas February 22nd. So lots of big things coming your way. I don't fit into a box. This is why I love the Anomaly factor. This is why I love speaking with Janet so much, because we are literally a square peg trying to fit into a circle world, and it just does not work. And I am in a mission to try and teach people that trying to fit in is what's actually keeping you stuck, and trying to fit in is what's keeping you miserable. And to really dive into your own authenticity, the good, the bad, the ugly even, and understand that nothing is wrong with you, that every piece of you is what makes you a unique and beautiful individual on this beautiful journey called life. And that's what brings me here today.
That's awesome, and I couldn't agree more. I've never fit in myself, hence the name of my podcast. I've always felt like I've longed to belong on the outside, looking in, thinking differently, feeling differently, not wanting to be the same as everyone else. It's strange. So what makes you the unique anomaly that you are?
Well, I have a lot of really strong opinions on everything. I think what makes me different is that I do trauma therapy, but I have the education. I could go and become certified. I could do all the things that society tells me I should do. They tell me I should go to school, get all the education, put the letters behind my name, show up to an office day in, day out, do the therapy, knowing well that I'm not really going to get the results that people are looking for, but really to just sit there and give them a space to talk. And that just never sat well with me. As a bipolar who successfully got off medications 21 years ago, who has had to fight against every single societal chain and stigma around the mental health industry itself and how we view and heal trauma, I decided that it was time to march to my own drum and to speak loud and proud instead of doing what everybody expects, which is to do the thing, right? And I swear a lot. I show up in jerseys instead of suits. And the thing is, I heal from the perspective of that there's nothing wrong with you. And I think that that's really freeing on its own, because a lot of us are like, will have emotions, and our first question is, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? Where I reframe that for my clients, instead of saying what's wrong with me, what is my body trying to tell me right now? Because there's nothing wrong. Emotions, when did we become so shut down as a society that emotions are no longer safe to express. I remember being like, because I'm bipolar and I have this diagnosis, I remember dating being such a pain in the ass because people would, the minute I disagreed with my spouse or I was displeased with something that they did, my bipolar was acting up. It was constantly thrown at me. I wasn't allowed to have an emotion as a child or as a teenager or as a young adult. And every time that stigma would come out to bite me in the ass and be the thing that held me back. And I think that what makes me different is I took that and I turned it into my superpower. My ADHD and my bipolar are my superpowers because it means that I see and experience the world deeper and more authentically than the average person. And it means I see more than the naked eye can actually see. And I'm seeing beyond what people are willing to show the world. And so this is how I get so deep with my clients, is I see the unseen. And that's really what makes me different, right?
I tend to agree. And I do think those are the gifts of trauma because I'm the same way, but I'm hypersensitive. Feel everything extremely deeply, but I have no words to explain half of what I feel. Hence why I just get overwhelmed by them. I'm learning late in life what emotions are, but they are your map. They're your guide of where you're supposed to go. And I believe that I was the same. I wasn't allowed to express myself, even though I love to talk. I have no words to express a lot of what happens, and I am too much for most people, including myself. And I'm learning just to understand why I am the way I am. And the trauma, like I said, I think that's what makes you hypervigilant for safety, for everything. You just feel, sense, know. There's gifts. It's just bizarre. It's understanding those that made me feel different. I didn't understand myself. And I grew up with no energy or boundary understanding at all.
Yeah, and I think where a lot of people I talk to a lot of people who have been in therapy for years, and the biggest thing you always hear is, holy crap, like, got me past 15 years of therapy in one session. And I'm like, this is what we do. You and I are the same in that we're not here to keep people stuck on the treadmill of therapy. We're here to heal, show them their tools, let them move on with life, because what is life if you're not enjoying it? And I think that, it's one of those things where society has just basically been like, go talk about your feelings and secrets behind closed doors. Once you've talked about it, it's okay, move on from it. And it's like, that's not how it is. Like, there's a reason the body keeps score. There's a reason that the internal family systems and parts work exist. We've understood for a millennia that the body actually folds the memories. And, for us we've been raised in a time when we were told that we couldn't express ourselves. And I think that to be able to take that time to learn, like, as you said, you're learning later in life, right? Because that is going to open up so many more doors for you in the long run. And you're going to know yourself in a way that nobody ever could, right? And
For
I
me,
think
everything
that's
was both and. Yeah. Everything was both and because I was always grounded and knew who I was, but because I was one and there was many, I believed them over myself. Even though I knew. So I had every limiting belief and every defense mechanism, and yet I knew who I was. It's very strange.
It's a
But
duality.
now
It's a duality that you lived in. And like I myself lived in that. And I firmly believe, like, my bipolar diagnosis, it's so funny because when I went off medication, the things that the doctor said to me was, it's never been done. You will go into a psychosis. You will either have a severe depressive state or a manic state and go into a psychosis or unalive yourself, whatever the case may be. It's never been done, not successfully. And I said, there has to be a better way. And when I did all the work and I worked on healing myself and I worked on piecing myself together, it's now 21 years later, they're actually starting to do the research in this area, and it's starting to become public knowledge about, like, these things aren't actually a chemical imbalance. They've proven that wrong. But what it is a fracturing of the soul through trauma and perceptions and little micro events that forever change your perspective, and you create these parts of you that are always at conflict with each other, right? So like my bipolar disorder, 21 years off, all the healing work that I've done, I don't even recognize the person I was when I went off, because I worked so hard at healing these parts of myself, right? And healing the unseen trauma that I knew held so many stories within my body and in my mind. And now I look at it and it's like, the more I piece it together, the more I don't resonate with that diagnosis at all. but they've done the brain scans and they're like, yep, your brain definitely operates like a bipolar, but I just don't live that lifestyle,
Have you
like
had a secondary one as a result of your healing? I'm curious.
sorry.
Have you had a second brain scan as a result of your healing to show
I haven't
maybe?
had one recently. I'd actually be quite curious. I know a neuroscientist, so I was like, I need you to hook my brain up the next time I'm in California because I want you to research my brain. But no, the last one I had was after I was successfully off medication for 3 years. Because they had after 3 years of no psychosis, no depression bouts, nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, I had depression because I was coming off medication, but like when I say depression and manic, I mean the severe sides of the spectrum.
Despair.
Like the extreme ones. And so when I didn't hit any of that and I didn't end up in hospital, like, well, we think you got misdiagnosed. So they redid all my scans and all my testing and everything still held true. But what had changed was me and how I perceived everything. And that I was in control. Instead of having an external locus of control where I thought everything was happening to me, I started to go inward and realize that I controlled the narrative.
Everything was happening for you.
Everything's no, I mean, it's things happen for you, challenges, everything. I do agree with that. But it was more so like going internally. I was like, I have a choice. I always have a choice. It might not be the choices I want to have, but I always have a choice. I am the narrator of my story. I am the narrator of my life. And to think otherwise is just playing victim. And that never resonated with me. I never wanted to be weak. I had enough people that chose that story for me.
So you weren't, I don't even, I'm at a loss for the word, but you weren't happy with the diagnosis or the medication. So the
medication made me worse.
Yeah, they were treating the symptom, but they weren't getting to the root cause. And you chose to get to the root cause and rewire your brain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's just it, right? Like that's the difference between traditional therapies and what we do is because my objective, as is yours, is to get to that root ball situation, the original event of what actually caused this. Like, for instance, the pain that you have in your body. Like I only have one lung, right? So I lost my lung when I was, it's 21 actually, right? Because right before I got off my medication because of everything that had happened with my lung collapse. I was on so much medication, my liver started to shut down. They had to take me off my medication. It was a whole thing. But I had always lived with this one lung, like where my oxygen saturation was very low. My peak flow meter, which is the amount of breath you can hold, it was very low. And like I just was given this outcome and I had to like live by it. And then I found REST, which is rapid reprogramming emotional stress technique. And that's what I'm certified in. And when I did a session with a fellow coach on my breath, and it came down to a root story of where I was constantly living in a state of having to hold my breath, waiting for the next big thing to happen in my life. My childhood was very tumultuous. And when we got to the root of when that started, all of a sudden, my O2 saturation, which had been the same for, I might add, 18 years, all of a sudden was 100%. And then my lung capacity, my peak flow meter, went from 350 milliliters to 700 milliliters, and it's never gone back.
What do you think was
the power of healing in that moment, getting to the root cause? And I think that that's the difference. Is my bipolar is a symptom, and they're doing a lot of research on this now, talking about how these disorders are just a fracturing of the soul and micro traumas that are compounding. And when you heal those, they're just a symptom. They're just your body going, check engine, right? That's what it is. And now I don't even question if I feel a little sad. I don't go, oh God, is my bipolar getting out of control? Am I going to have a really, I'm just like, oh, I'm just having a day. Why do I have a day today? Let's talk about it, right?
You're bang on, because I think that's what most people don't understand is they don't know what trauma is. They think it's the car accident or the death, but trauma is not what's done to you. It's how you disconnect from your soul or yourself. Mm-hmm. And trauma is, for myself anyway, most of my stuff happened pre-verbal in the first year of life. So you're bang on when you say the body remembers what the mind cannot, because we are incapable of forming memories until the age of 3. But the body does remember and does keep the score. And I do agree that it's integrating all of those parts. I don't know if you've ever heard of John Bradshaw, but he was the first one that I'd ever, talked about the family systems and everything.
Yeah.
And it was older and it's just continued from there. But it's
Well, and I think like
for no reason. They're
yeah.
medicating and it's causing more. I mean, I hate these commercials. Here, take Cialis or whatever. It'll help you do this, but it'll cause 100 other different things. Who would want to do that?
That's the thing. Half my medications as a bipolar, the first side effect symptom to look out for is may cause suicidal tendencies. That's why we were taking this stupid pill to begin with, was to make that not happen, guys. But what happened for me was I actually personally felt more dissociated, more detached. I couldn't feel anything, which made me question my own existence, right? And then when you're switching medications, now you're in a natural chemical imbalance. Your body is freaking out. It was just chaos. And like, this is the thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Medicine, Western medicine has a really good place when it is used appropriately. But we have become like now. I mean, look at the Ozempic. I'm gonna call it an epidemic because everybody's like, oh, I don't want to actually go for a walk and eat properly, but I'm going to shoot myself up with a chemical that's going to cause a bunch of shit I don't know anything about.
And there's no statistics long term of how that's going to benefit you or not. I've heard that lots of people are losing their muscle mass on that.
Yeah. Lots of people, they end up with slow motility and everything. Like, I could talk on that forever, but like, it's one of those things where our medicine is good when it is used as a short-term bridge. Where we've kind of gone wrong is that it's the be-all end-all, like, oh, you don't want to feel your emotions, here, have this end-it-all pill, right? Like, that's what the commercials feel like. And then it's like, may cause 10 minutes of side effects, but don't worry, this is going to be the fixer. Because if you actually look at like how our medicine works, a lot of things, like if you're taking blood pressure medication, now causes a cholesterol issue. Now you got to take cholesterol medication, which now causes skin issues. Now you got to go see the dermatologist. Like, and it's just a cycle. My mom, for instance, is on like more pills than I could shake a fist at. And I'm like, Mom, like, you got to just do the work and you got to heal the things, because all of it is your body just saying, hey, stop ignoring me, you know? And like, don't get me wrong, if you have I'm going to say this just for legality purposes, if you have a legitimate mental health disorder and you do not feel safe, do not go off medication without appropriate help and somebody guiding you along the way, because that is dangerous. And I'm just going to say it for legality purposes so you hear it, so you guys understand it. This is not me saying, hey, everybody go take it off your pills tomorrow, because that's how the next freaking anarchy happens. So.
Yeah, it would be best to do the inner work while you're on the medication, at least to start, and then
like I went off with medication with, like, I'm talking like I had a naturopath, I had my doctors, I was journaling extensively, checking in multiple times a day. I had systems in place. I had people that were looking for what we call red flag signs, right? Like, because if I was going to hit a psychosis, well, psychosis is you're not in your mind. How am I going to be able to tell that, right? So I had systems in place. And so if this interests you, like, reach out. There are ways to do it, and like, this is why I have my entire blueprint, so that somebody can do this safely, securely, with the right people in the right places, right?
I agree. It's often when we're not able to express ourselves, feel safe, seen, heard, or validated, that all of our problems start. And I'm starting to see things myself, and I'm hoping that maybe this and other conversations will turn things around. But so many people, parents, are bringing their kids in saying, help this child. And it's not the child. The child's the symptom of the system that's going on in the home. They want the child to fix, but the root cause, the parents are not being or addressing their own issues. And that's what cyclical transgenerational trauma is. It just repeats itself until somebody like yourself wakes up and does the work in the moment, in this lifetime.
Yeah, and like, I mean, like, my kids are my biggest mirror. If my kids are dysregulated at home, I don't sit there and go, my God, what is wrong with you guys? The first question I ask above all else is, what was I just thinking about and ruminating on 10 minutes prior to? Because inevitably my children are a mirror of my energy in that moment. And I think back 10 to 30 minutes. What was I thinking about? What was I feeling? What was I, like, internalizing at that moment? Because your energy is a frequency. And so this is where a lot of people, parents especially, don't want to take ownership of this. They think there's something wrong with the child. Oh, they're having too much sugar. They're having too much TV. Don't get me wrong. Those are factors.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if you actually got real with yourself, your children are a mirror of you. And here's the big thing that I don't think gets talked about enough. The reason your kids trigger you so much is because they're not triggering you, they're triggering your inner child. The amount of times that I look at my kids and I feel triggered because the internal child in me is like, I never got to be loud like that. Like, why did they get to be loud and not get spanked for jumping on the couch or not get thrown in their room for hours on end because they said no, they don't want to eat the broccoli. Like, doesn't make me a bad parent. What it makes me is a parent who's breaking the generational cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
And like my kids are very respectful and like don't get me wrong, like they challenge me, but at the end of the day, when they're out in society, everybody's like, holy crap, your kids are so wonderful. That is testament to the job that you do.
Yeah.
Right? They challenge me because I'm their safe zone and we got to figure this out. But inevitably, they are a mirror of what I'm feeling inside. And so I got to look at me first and then I look at them. Once I can heal me and I can accept me and give me grace and look at my inner child and be like, babe, your parents did the best with what they had. And you get to give the gift of loudness to your children. The louder they are, the happier they are. And that's a gift.
Like me, you gave your kids everything you weren't allowed or had. Did you consciously know that at the time, or had you already done the work? See, I've done it after the fact. I gave them everything I never had. Something inside me knew what to do, and yet I wasn't even aware until much later in life.
Well, and that's just it. Like sometimes, like there's two different types of people, right? Those who unconsciously are aware that there's something that has to change, and those who, through doing the work, like for me, the unconscious knowing was that I was meant for more than what everybody told me I was meant for, right?
Exactly.
That I had a lot to give to the world, that I had a lot to talk about and share, and I was a guiding light. Then from that unconscious knowing led me to doing the conscious work, which led me to understanding that I was going to give my kids what I always wanted. I was going to be the parent that I needed in those times, right?
So it's funny.
And that's just, yeah.
You knew, like I did, and yet after doing the work, even though we had the ability to see a little bit, when you do the work, it gives you full clarity, I thought. Anyway, that's how it's been. Like, you can see and feel and know a person and what they're going through based on their behaviors. You may not know the exact experience that they're having, but you know how they feel as a result.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's experience is so different. You can have your perception of what you think they're feeling.
Exactly.
You'll have a better idea. I get what you're saying. I think it's more what you're trying to say is the energetic aspect, the frequency. You understand the frequency that they're putting out, right? Because how we feel and our perceptions on everything is based in our own reality, and none of it is actually true. I mean, this is why I love the movie Matrix, right?
I was just going to say, I left the Matrix.
Yeah, right. Because like it makes you think, right? But like if you actually look at it, like I don't think that that's happening, but if you look at it, none of us live the same reality ever.
No, not at all. Even siblings in the same home.
Well, and yeah, I love how Gabor talks about, 3 siblings in the same home will never have the same parents ever. And it's true. Like my parents treat me like a baby a lot of the time and treat my brother completely different. And like as children are born, parents evolve, right? And it's crazy to me that like you can't ever say, oh, well, we grew up in the same household, so I understand how you feel, because you don't. You lived a totally different reality, right?
Exactly.
I know that being the baby, I got spoiled rotten and I got away with freaking practically murder, But my brother, he's the protector. He's the steadfast. So he had to like lead the way. And so for him, he was always in trouble and experimenting where the boundaries were. So I didn't have to, right? And
Yeah, it's funny, and you're bang on, because I mean, I only had 2 kids and I wanted 10. Thank God I stopped. But 2 kids, it's like the first one, you're overly anal, you're picky, you're overly protected. And then with the second one, you're kind of relaxing into motherhood. You already know the ropes. Can you imagine if I had 10? I think the oldest would have ended up raising the youngest. I probably wouldn't have had anything to do with it, because you just become and know that the universe is going to handle everything just the way it's meant to be. And if not, you get choice. You get to choose a different path.
The choice is everything. Like, I think in life, I wish if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would remind her that, although it feels like we don't have choice because, the adults aka the medical professionals, your bosses, whatever, are telling you that you can't do X, Y, or Z, you always have a choice. Again, I don't say that the choices are always like black and white, easy and hard. Sometimes you have hard, and harder to choose from, but it's still a choice. Everything in this world is a choice. I had a choice to be bigger than my diagnosis or to fall victim to it. Trust me, getting past it and getting off medication was absolute hell. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for y'all. It was hell. It sucked. There were moments where I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I had to live and link to that idea that this was my choice because I knew that there was something more on the other side of that. And my God, could you imagine if I didn't take that choice? I'd probably either be a drug addict on the streets because we have shitty medical system right now in Canada, or I would be in a mental loony bin, or I'd be still living in my parents' house, barely surviving, working a minimum wage job and hating my life. Or
I shouldn't be here technically. For the same reasons. I don't know why I am. And it's funny, our paths are very similar and yet very different. I never felt like a victim. I didn't even know what I didn't know till I knew it because everything was
and once you know, you can't unknow, right?
Oh no, I'd love to be able to put the lid back on. There's no possible way. But it is so freeing to understand why you function the way you do. And there is a reason for everything. Yeah. And it's understanding that, making a conscious choice once you become aware of that, to rewire your brain, redo a thought process, because we are limitless. We are capable of absolutely everything. And certain things in the world don't want us. They want us to conform. I mean, you mentioned not 911, but mental health. I'm a little upset because it wasn't regarding mental health, but it obviously is going to be affected by it. I was driving on the 401 this year in the summertime. I saw a truck actually, go up and just about to go up in flames. You could see it smoking. So I called 911. Would you believe I got put on hold?
Yep.
Then I got back on and they said fire, ambulance, or emergency.
Police.
And I went fire, and I got put on hold again. And I went, this is a problem, in my opinion. If I'm suicidal and I get out there and I want to off myself because I'm not happy for things that are controllable and changeable, if I'm not picking up the phone to talk to somebody in the moment that I need it and I'm put on hold, what do you think is going to happen? It's sad that we have so many people in the world suffering and on medication needlessly because they're avoiding dealing with the pain. And it's going through the pain, through the resistance, that all the healing and all the freedom are on the other side. I mean, that's your leadership, your creativity, everything.
And you bring up an interesting point that brings up a thought to my mind. One of the biggest problems I see in our industry right now is a lack of collaboration, a lack of linking arms together. Like, therapists are against mental health coaches. Therapists are like, well, we went to school for therapy. You know what? There are 8 billion people on this planet. There is not enough of us, even between therapists, counselors, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, even life coaches. Let's add them into this as well. There is not enough of us to go around as it is. So why are we segregating each other and isolating away from each other when we should be banding together to make actual fucking change? Because you know what? Yeah, talk therapy didn't work for me on its own. But as a utilizing tool with everything else that I do, amazing, right? Because without talking, I don't really realize what I need to talk about, what's really beyond the story that I'm telling myself. But now that I do, now what do I do with it, right? Now I move on to the next type, formula or modality. And this is the thing, is like, our medical system is collapsing for so many reasons, especially here in Canada after COVID. Like, it was so, like, I left being a paramedic. Like, they made me choose between my health as a one-lunged asthmatic and going back to work at a time when, like, if I caught COVID, and it would kill me. And I had a brand new baby. Like, it was a no-brainer for me. And so that's how I went into this industry. And like, we are just so short-staffed. We got rid of good people because they wouldn't get vaccinated, right? And then like now everything is coming out about the vaccinations. Like it's chaos to me. Why are we letting other people dictate our lives and how we manage our health when we could all be linking arms and being like, hey, we all play a big piece in this puzzle and together we can actually create a whole picture. That's what I want to see, because yeah, I might not be able to do the talk therapy stuff as well as a psychologist can, but they can't do what I do, right? They can't get to the root ball the way that I do.
The same
And
as
have
me.
it processed through the body.
100%. I agree totally, because our bodies, in my opinion, have the capability to heal themselves if they're given the right environment. It's really upsetting for me because it's literally affected my whole life that I want to get this into medical school or start my own school, because it's the suppression of those emotions that we were not allowed to express that literally create your parts. If you're not loved, seen, heard, accepted by your own parents, then you turn it inwards and you make it about yourself, and it's never about us in that respect. But as adults, we get to choose now to do the inner work and understand why we ended up the way we are. It's a lot of lived experiences to undo to get to your core being of who you were meant to be.
Yeah. And I think, with the way we attach to our parents in those early years is so vital, and people don't realize how vital that is.
Yeah.
And like we've got, like in the States, they go back to work after 6 weeks. My friend just had a baby down in the States, 6 weeks old. Her baby's in daycare. I'm like, what is that? What is that? Like, that's not okay. This is the most crucial time. Why is maternity leave not covered, right? And the attachment theory, like if you've ever looked into the attachment theory, like it's huge, right? I have my attachment was avoidant, anxious avoidance, right? I had one parent that created the anxiety, one parent that caused the avoidance. So here it was, and that chaotic energy is directly linked to bipolar. Shocking, right? So the minute I learned how to heal that, everything started.
Got all the emotions for your parents, like I did.
Yeah.
Which is ass backwards. I mean, we have kids raising parents when parents are supposed to be raising kids. And I find a lot of parents today parent in such a controlled fashion for the best of reasons. They obviously love and care their kids, but they want little mini-me's. They want behaved children, but they're not allowing them the freedom within a controlled, more expansive box to self-identify, to learn, to have choice within protected boundaries. That's not happening. They want conformed kids, but they're not allowing them to be fully expressive. Hence, we end up.
That's the problem with school, right? They ask them to sit down, be quiet, don't express yourself. Like luckily here in Canada, I mean, it's going to be a long time, but we're starting to go towards more of a UDL style, which is universal learning, which is like adapting the learning to how each child actually learns, whether that's through manipulations with their hands. Like for me, like to stay focused, I have this, right? Like it's such a simple thing, but like doing this allows my brain to focus on one task at a time. Right? They would have never have allowed this back in the day, but like now the system is moving towards that to allow the freedom. But like kids were never meant to sit in class all day long. They would go for a couple hours, but then work the farm early in the morning and in the evening. Like we lost
an educational system to suit the people that were instilling it, not for the kids.
The education system was built to create an army, to create consumers, to create conformity.
Yeah, control.
It's all about control. And that's why like you got to be careful, because the education system is geared to teach whoever's up top to teach whatever they want, right? So it's an interesting system that we live in. And so like for my kids, for instance, like with their like trying to teach a healthy, secure attachment, I don't ever suppress their emotions. If they have a meltdown in the middle of the store, I don't care that Karen over there is like, your kids are so misbehaved. I'm like, no, buddy, you know what? You're upset. Let it out. Let it out. Yeah, I get it. It is frustrating that we can't have cookies for breakfast. I'm so sorry. Like, that is frustrating. Like, and I just sit there and I talk to him and I validate how he feels, because his feelings aren't wrong, right?
No,
And
they
at
just
the end of the
yeah.
day, yeah, at the end of the day, if I validate his feelings, he's more likely to talk about them. We do pillow talk every night during cuddle time where he just shares. And I'm like, I have a rule in my house. During pillow talk, if there's something you want to own up to that you're worried you're going to get in trouble about, that's the time to do it. And we will talk about it and we'll come back to it the next day. But that's your safe space without getting in trouble, without having to justify. And it works really well because my kids don't hold anything back from me.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're afraid to go to your parents and express yourself, that itself is trauma, right? Like you're just suppressing, and you think there's something wrong with you, and it's not.
And then you turn into Ariel as a teenager who does everything that they're. If my parents even knew half the shit that I did, oh my god! Like the fact that I'm still standing here is a damn miracle, okay? Because like I did some shady stuff as a teenager because I didn't have the boundaries and I didn't know and I had no one to talk to about it.
Are you aware of I'm sure you are, the adverse childhood experiences?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's like 10 questions, right? And
Yeah.
you're supposed to, I think 4, if you answer to the affirmative, literally determines the trajectory of your life. Not
Yeah.
just your health, but your lifespan. And I can't believe why that I'm still here, to be honest with you, because I should have committed suicide or been a drug addict or something. And I do believe
You're
it's
a
because
big change.
well, I think I didn't resonate with anything that had happened. I felt used, abused, and objectified my entire life and had no reason why, because it all was like pre-verbal. So even though my experience is similar, it's very different because I just didn't know what I didn't know till I knew it. And it's processing those energetic emotions and being seen, held, validated, not by our parents, but as adults with like-minded people that are doing the same work that makes you feel safe. I'm so hyper vigilant for safety now. I know I'll never feel safe in the world, even though I finally feel safe in my body, because most people in the world are not doing this work. They're growing old and not maturing. So those people that are not authentic, those people, I love them where they're at and I accept them, but I just can't be around them anymore. It's not good for my nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be able to connect as many people as I can. If we don't have peace in here, how are we supposed to have peace in the world? There's just no way.
Well, you look at the way the earth is vibrating right now, right? Like, have you ever heard of Heart Math Institute?
Yes.
Okay, so heart coherence. There's actual scientific proof that you can actually change the energy of an entire room by going into heart coherence, right? Which is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're co-regulating. And so I do this with my children all the time. And the world right now is so dysregulated as a collective that the frequency and energetic field of the earth is like so out of whack and so high right now that it's no wonder that there's so many things boiling over to chaos because we as a society, as a collective, have lost complete coherence. And if everybody would just like, I love Math Institute. They do what they call universal heart coherence times, where like you'll connect with people around the world, and you go on and you do heart coherence, and you can feel the shift happen. And I challenge anybody listening, go check it out, Heart Math Institute, and check out heart coherence. It literally could be as simple as doing 1 minute a day. 1 minute anytime you're feeling like you're getting out of control, and it'll change everything.
The University of California in San Francisco, they're doing something similar too, because I've reached out to them because I said, I think I need to be studied. I really do. And so what I've been trying to do is collect research so that I can show people that the stuff that I've gone through myself, the emotional neglect, the parentification, pre-verbally, how it does affect you later on in life. Well, I come to learn that they are already doing it, and it's directly the heart and brain connection, not just the gut and brain now, it's the heart and brain. So they are actually doing what I'm already trying to do. I just wasn't aware of it. So they've taken the triangle and said, you know, these experiences that are negative or ill affecting you early in life, and it's a scale upwards again to your health, your longevity, everything. So there's a direct correlation because a lot of people in the scientific world don't believe that we are emotional and spiritual beings in a body. The body can be treated in a petri dish. Our mind, our heart, our soul, it's all emotional. And
Yeah.
that's the processing. If you don't process it, that's what leads to the dis-ease in your body, disease. And we're treating all of the symptoms of all of these diseases because it's too painful to do the work to go in and do the root cause inner healing work.
Yeah.
And that makes me upset and angry and frustrated because I feel and care deeply, and this information's out there and yet it's not being utilized. We have a system that's built over greed instead of humanity. It's profiting
But
over
that's just it, though. It is greed. It is corporate greed. It is like, I mean, our entire world is run from the pharmaceutical companies, basically. And, you know, like, I find it funny, almost laughable, that the same company that built mammogram machines also creates the cure for the breast cancer that can be caused by the radiation from the mammogram machine. Figure that one out,
I
right?
think it, yeah, I get it,
Like,
100%. I mean,
you
you go
know,
to the doctor or the dentist for a cold or a tooth to be pulled, they're handing out opiates all the time. Here, have this painkiller. They're making addicts out of people who are in short-term pain instead of allowing it to be felt and processed or use something that's a lower grade. It's really sad what's going on.
but also people don't want to feel pain. They don't want to do the hard work. Like we've gone so far in society, like everything has to be a quick fix. Weight loss, emotional, physical development. Like people like who want to build muscle do steroids. Like it's all about the dopamine hit of like now.
The
When
short-term
really
gratification.
like, you know, it's the journey that really is the pivotal moment. But we have a society, everyone wants a quick fix. I don't want to feel like this anymore. What do I do? Right? I don't want to be fat anymore. What do I do? It's just like this easy way out. But the problem is the medication leads to other things and other things and other things. And all it does is that check engine light, somebody just put some tape over it and like it doesn't exist. But eventually your engine's going to explode, right? I always say emotions repressed become expressed, whether you like it or not.
In a physical
Just
form.
how they get expressed is very different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, I think he was the one that wrote that book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it's true.
Yeah.
It manifests. It's got to come out somewhere, somehow.
People who hold their voice, throat cancer, right? People who have had sexual trauma end up with endometriitis or uterine cancer or cysts, right? Like they have physically proven this. Like where you like, I don't know if you've ever done this, and if you haven't, you should. It's a fun little exercise to do. But you take 2 cups, 2 plastic or paper. I like paper cups. I think plastic has too many chemicals in it. But take some paper cups and you put water in them. And in 1 cup, you're going to spend like an hour just meditating, beautifully thinking of all the things that make you happy, and pouring love into this cup. And like if your thoughts start to wander, always come back to the love. And it's all love, 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 love. Put it in the freezer. And then at a separate time, same style of cup. Same thing, but think about all the things you hate. Everything that makes you rage. That moment that Sheila, the office, said that your work was subpar, right? Like whatever it is that sits ruminating in your thought, you sit there and you funnel it all into this cup. And then you freeze that. They come out completely different. One is clear, concise, like looks beautiful. The other one is fractured. Because water, we are 80% water, right? The moon can shift oceans. That means it can shift us. That means that the energy that we put out in our emotions can shift the entire molecular makeup of something.
We're all one. We're all connected. People don't see that. Don't know
Trees talk to each other like through their root system. So do mushrooms. It's crazy. Like they've actually proven they hook these things up to mushrooms, and mushrooms create music vibrations. Like it's crazy.
But our ancestors live within them. All that energy for generations.
It is. It's like we don't die. I don't believe we feel it. Physically, our body goes, but our soul, you know, like there's a story about the beings, right? And how being a being was just being a being. And it's like, it's this whole story where it's like talking about how our soul is just coming here to experience. But really, like, there is no time, there is no end goal. It's just experience, right? And it's a beautiful story.
I'm curious. I mean, the lack of connection we have within ourselves as well as within each other in the world is already not great. How do you feel about the phones, the cell phones now? I think they're personally going to cause further divide, further disconnectedness?
Oh, I think that's already been long here for a long time. Like cell phones, social media has made it 10 times worse. Like, just do a social media detox and watch how your mental health increases. Like, honestly, 7 days without social media, you're going to be a different person. It's bananas because it creates comparison. It creates a fake, oh, everybody's life is so perfect, right?
Well, it's that dopamine hit every time you get a like. You're like,
well, you're so involved in everybody's fucking life. Like, keyboard warriors everywhere. I hate them. Like, and I say that in like the most, I don't actually hate them. I just get frustrated that they think it's okay to say whatever it is that they want to say. But like, think about it, when we didn't have cell phones, like I used to have to hop on my bike and bike to my best friend's house just to see if she was home, you know? So I had to do that. And like, sometimes like I'd have to be like, hey, like we're going to meet at this playground on this day and we're going to go when the sun's about right there. Okay, sound good? Great. I mean,
but
like,
it took effort, right? It took
yeah.
effort, it took planning, it took caring, and you had that interaction.
And if you fought, I think the big thing is if you fought and you disagreed, right? I remember with my friends, we disagreed on a lot of things. And I think that what the difference was is that when we disagreed, because these were people that we saw all the time and we interacted with all the time, we were faster to repair because these are my friends. Who else am I going to connect with? Now people just connect with anybody on the internet, and that's not a relationship.
No.
That's not. They don't care about you. Like I say right now, and more so in my life ever than before, I am surrounded by people and feel utterly alone because people are so wrapped up in their own worlds and unable to connect with others as well as themselves that they have nothing to offer. And so relationships and friendships are so surface.
They're focused on the outside world instead of staying in their own lane and doing their own inner work.
Yeah.
People don't know what awareness is. Honest to God, they don't.
Common sense, not so common these days.
Not at all.
No.
Wow. So what's next for you around the corner? I kind of know a little bit.
Well, there's a lot of big things on the horizon. So, this year, now that I've done doing my next level certification, like I did some CEA work, certification just because I wanted to understand our educational system. And my objective long term is to make real change in our education system. But in order to do that, I had to understand it and understand the challenges that we're facing with children in schools these days. So I did that, passed with flying colors, it was great. But now on the horizon is to get within the school system to start making some change, while also expanding my business. Like my membership, Self Healer Sanctuary, is my no contract membership, low cost, is $33 a month. It is what I needed when I was going off all my medication. It was what I needed my entire life, was somebody there to walk me through the moments or to be my lifeline. Because how many times did I sit there and be like, holy crap, I have this revelation. Oh, but my next appointment is not for 6 weeks. Now I'm suppressing it over the next 6 weeks because it feels like too much. By the time I get to the appointment, I've forgotten all about it. This is the lifeline. That membership is the lifeline for my people who are like, hey, Ariel, I just had this revelation. Help me walk through this. And then walk through it in real time. It's like, I call it therapy on the go. It's in your back pocket. Off we go. Let's talk about it. We do monthly themes right now. Is like jump to it January. We're talking about how New Year, New You is toxic and how to actually make change for your 2026 and like with actionable steps. Because that was the one thing I hated when I was in the medical system, was they'd always ask me how I felt about things. They would never ask me what I was going to do to change it. And they never gave me suggestions on how to change it. This is where I differ. I give the steps. You're going to do step 1 and then step 2. And then if step 2 feels hard, we're going to go back to step 1, right?
I agree. I think the medical system, again, is very reactive. I even talked to my own heart surgeon when I got diagnosed with, I think it was called long QT syndrome. I said, why are you not more proactive? He goes, we're proactive. We hand out statins. And I went, but you never mentioned exercise. You didn't mention health. You didn't mention mindset. None of it's mentioned.
No.
It's just take the pill, move on to the next patient. And they wonder why things are getting worse instead of better. So I'm trying to change that. You're trying to change the education. And I do agree that collaboratively, that's the only way it's going to happen, because individually, they're trying to shut us all down.
100%.
They don't want us to have freedom of thought, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, nothing anymore. They want it to be completely dependent and controlled. I mean, I'm sorry, this is not going to be really be good on the podcast, but what our Canadian government did to those truckers during COVID, to me, was despicable and an abuse of power. There's no way that they should have been allowed to get away with that. And I don't understand how our leaders of the world, leaders of our education system, leaders of everything, how they can get away with it, not be held to account. If that were you or me, we'd be locked up already.
Well, I mean, I could talk about that on a separate occasion. Like, at the end of the day, I think it's an illusion that we think we have democracy. We don't.
I agree.
And that's just my personal opinion. And I know some people come after me hard on that, but that's my personal opinion. I believe that it's an illusion to make us feel like we have control, but we don't. So,
yeah, we're not told.
There has to be change otherwise. And that's why, like, the Self-Healer Sanctuary was my baby, my project, because I want people to have that lifeline to do the proactive work, and wake up to everything. Right, wake up to how they feel and the energy of the world and what they want to do. Because the minute you start to spark a match here, like, we're gonna light up the whole fucking world, and it's gonna be great.
Planting seeds and making people aware that what they're feeling is quite normal, and we've all been through it. We process it differently. We've had different experiences, but essentially we're all the same. We all have blood running through our veins. We all have a heart pumping. The color of our skin, the culture, the language, it's all indifferent. It's just where you grew up in the world that made you the way you are. Yeah. So
besides that, I've got this. We're speaking, you and I, in Vegas in February, and then my podcast is launching. There's a bunch of speaking gigs coming up over the next year, and my entire mission is to just get out there and have the raw and real conversations and start to make the change by waking people up one person at a time.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Always. Well, it
was awesome. Do you have anything else? Any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with, or what is the impact or legacy you would like to create in the world besides changing?
The statement I will leave you with is this: you always have a choice. You always have a choice. And what you choose to do with that choice, even if you choose to do nothing, is still a choice. So remember, the power of everything lies within your ability to understand that you have a choice. Always.
Yeah, because you've had multiple careers too over your lifespan. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we take off?
Oh, I've been an MMA fighter. I've been a paramedic, a behaviorist, animal behaviorist. I was a doula. I was an animal, like a reptile specialist. I've done so many things in my life.
I did not know you were a doula. So yeah, that's interesting, because I was going to bring that up earlier. I did some training recently myself about pre and peri and postnatal care, and that in and of itself needs to change in our healthcare system. I mean, just a simple gesture of cutting the cord. It's done instantaneously, and it shouldn't be. The nutrients are not being transferred from the mom to the baby. In those first minutes of life, the cord's cut, the baby's taken away. The cord should be left on and left at the chest of the mother. The connection, the bonding, that right there sets the trajectory of everyone's life.
Yeah, and it really should. Like, even the care in the womb, like when you're in utero, is huge. And I was very lucky to have had that job for a short period of time in my life, because the miracle of birth is just so, like, you just don't understand how much power we have as women, as, we hold the key to life.
And yet those choices are taken away from us in the moment when we're giving birth.
Yeah, I mean, my own, we could do this for a different podcast episode, but both my births were very traumatic. And, it's because it's built on a system where they want you to feel like you have choice, but you don't have choice. Again, there's no democracy. It's just, this is what we deem to be best for you. Now, mind you, there is some truth in that, because look at the birth rate, survival rate, and things like that. But, again, I could go for another hour on that, and we'd be here a very long time. But we should have that conversation another time, because there's a lot to talk about trauma and the imprints of genetic trauma and what can happen in utero versus, conception versus birth, because they all are major time points.
Yeah, if your
trauma takes hold.
well, you're pregnant, your baby's most likely going to have anxiety. They're going to be overwhelmed. And I mean, it's not the baby's fault. It's not the mother's fault. It's knowledge that's out there and people do know, but not enough to be able to change how
It's
we...
looked at as woo-woo versus actual as actual like therapy or like if doctors sat there and said to do what we do and they backed it 100%, no one would question it. But it's because we have been, I guess, torn down by the higher ups, by the people who are threatened by the change that this is woo-woo, it's whatever. Some people even dare to say it's witchcraft. I'm like, guys, we're not in Salem right now, like let's stop with that.
I've been called a witch. Honest to God, I have. It's crazy, but it's true. I mean, we've learned so much over the years, and yet we have so much more to learn. And we've gotten so far away from the basics. And I do believe Eastern, Western, Indigenous, spiritual, I think all of them have a place. But they, again, should be more collaborative and unified instead of separate. I mean, we just want whole beings. Most of us aren't whole.
No, and that's why we got to do what we do, right? Because it's about piecing it back together and coming home to yourself is really like the technique that I'm certified in rest. Because I'm a lifetime published author, I decided to do an anthology with the doctor who created it and the few rest coaches that are still like practicing and teaching this and practicing this modality on a regular basis to get their stories, because I was like, it's so hard to explain to people in a way that they're going to understand. But the one thing that is universal language is stories. Universal.
And love.
But stories is real, like even stories of love. Like stories are the one thing that connects us all together.
Well, they're relatable, right?
Yeah. Well, and they make it relatable. They make it easy to connect, right? And so I'm excited. That's actually launching May 5th, alongside with Mental Health Month. So I'm really pumped about that. And that one's going to be really good. It's actually called Triggered from Reaction to Resilience. I'm really pumped about it. So
that's awesome. But I thank you very much, Ariel, for joining me today. And when
thank you
embrace the uniqueness that you have within, I'm excited, and I've really, really enjoyed the conversation, and I do believe we could have a few more. You turn out like Ariel, unstoppable, unfuckawithable.
Unfuckwithable. That is my methodology.
Yeah.
Be the anomaly, because you know what? It is way too much work to try and be normal.
You're not meant to be like everybody else. You're supposed to stand out and stay in your own lane and do what you want. Everybody else is focused on everyone else and not themselves. Anyway, thank you. And I look forward to being with you again in February, and hopefully it'll all work out. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.